Hi, fellow word nerds. I'm here with a quick review of a book that I think you're really going to love. It's called Says Who, a kinder, funner usage guide for anyone who cares about words by Anne Curzan. Now, you can tell from the funner in the title that this is not your ordinary book about grammar rules. No, it's not scolding and it's not prescriptive at all. It's a fun romp through all of the lessons that may have haunted you for years, or the things that come in your editor's comments and you think, oh no, how do I not know how to use commas yet? If you've ever felt guilty about accidentally misplacing an apostrophe or using who instead of whom, this is the book for you. At its core, the book deals with the essential conflict in language between the grammarians, those who insist on the rules being followed, and wordies, those who are really curious about why and how words are used in different ways. This conflict plays out in so many ways. Editors of major newspapers and books, they have the rule of trying to maintain and enforce standards. So they tend to tip a little bit more towards grammarians. And perhaps there are people in your life who are real grammarians. I had a great uncle who would correct letters that people sent him and send them back with markups on them. And I had a fifth grade teacher. You asked, "Can I go to the bathroom?" And she'd say, "You can, but you may not." Oof. So the grammarians on one hand, the wordies on the other are those who are always experimenting with language, testing its boundaries, speaking in different dialects, different contexts, making up new words. And here's the interesting point is that we all have perhaps both of these forces in play within ourselves. So in this book, Curzan looks at all kinds of different language issues, including hot button ones like the singular they or the it's dilemma, who and whom, and split infinitives. A lot of things that you may have heard arguments or discussions about, or where your inner grammarian may get her hackles up when she encounters them. And then she gets curious. She looks at the history of the usage. She looks at the different contexts of the usage, and she looks at patterns of how language is shifting because language is always shifting and changing. That is what language does. It's a human construct that we're always contributing to every time we use it. And as she covers all these topics, it's so much fun and it's not judgmental. And that's really the key thing. Curzan encourages us to try to balance our inner grammarians with our inner wordies. And when we see a usage pattern that drives us nuts, to think about context, to think about where and how it's being used, and to get curious. Instead of being super judgmental, try being curious. Come to think of it, that's great advice not only for language, but probably life itself. Reading this made me feel a little better about my own foibles. If enough people do them and I understand them, they're legit, even if they make grammarians cranky and they probably shouldn't show up in my printed books. This one definitely earned a place on my permanent bookshelf. I'm keeping it there to defend my foibles, but it's right alongside the Chicago Manual of Style. So check it out. If you enjoy words, I think you're really going to enjoy this book.